I started it. Okay, can you see my screen? 1 second. Yeah,
No, it is not loaded.
Ranjit,
yeah.
actually, it's a request. If it is possible, we can make 10 minutes or some few times for doing the practical. I mean, we can create the instances and all the things after finishing the class,
Mm-hmm.
and we will have some doubt whether we are able to connect or not. So that will be helpful.
Mm,
One solution, what you can do, when you may see the session in your phone and parallelly in your laptop, you try to replicate what Ranjit is doing. So at the same time, you can do both
Yes, yes, Shiba, that will actually help. Okay,
yeah.
but
because it will reduce the time. And you can, when Ranjit is creating, if you try to create, you will have a hands-on practice itself.
Yeah. So, guys,
Okay,
whatever
problem
Siva.
is like we having that
Uh,
no, actually problem like no, normally we having some weekend activities something. Currently I am doing office work and doing listening here, so we are not getting time to be there. So at least 10-15 minutes we have to be hands on to be practice. Might be we are getting some connection or some issue we are facing. In that time 10-15 minutes we have to do some hands on, then it will be very easy to understand and do the things perfectly, because it's kind of too struggling while I just uh, remind and do the things again later time.
mhm. Okay. Okay, let's see how it can be done because we all people cannot do that in the same way. Okay? Because whatever I'm doing it, because I am familiar with the process and I'm familiar with the options and clicking it and going through. Suppose which takes half an hour, it will take for me 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but for you it will take minimum half an hours to go and do this one, right? Because I have to tell you and you have to do the practice on the on the session online session itself. What I would suggest, just because we are doing weekends, right, Saturday and Sunday, so we'll get sufficient time after the class. Okay, at least give 1 hour, don't give more time, just give 1 hour of our time. Whatever we have learned, just go through that. Okay, don't worry about the videos because I already got the broadband connections. As soon as the class will over, I'll upload the video immediately within 30 minutes of time or 1 hour of time, so that you will get your the videos as well as the sessions whatever done, so we can do the practice. I understand the concerns because what Dilip and Ranjit saying
yes,
that
yes, Ranjit, that will really help because
I
immediately
understand.
the same day if you
Exactly.
are downloading the video, sorry, uploading the video, you can give a practice, good practice.
Exactly. So that's why
So
I
you,
Actually, I
you
thought
can,
I missed the video or something. You didn't get the video. I thought
no,
why not in
you
the
can
group?
record. In your desktop also you can record it, is not it? Instead of Ranjit uploading, you can record the session and have it in local copy.
How to record that? In you can means
No,
everyone
I
can
don't
record.
think it's
you
And
may
there are
optional.
need a third party
lots of
tool.
tool available.
But don't do that. You need a third party tool, but it will not be sometimes clear and sometimes no audio, video, maybe combinations will not be there. Sync will not be there. So, anyways, whatever Siva is told, actually, you can do that also. You can screen. There should be any software, right? Third party software, so you can install it and you can do your screen recording. So it will be recorded all the sessions. That also you can do. Or what you can do, just wait for after this class because immediately I'm going to upload the videos. That will solve the problem. Okay.
Yeah, that will be really helpful. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, guys, so let's move on. What I'm going to do, you can see my screen, right? Here I have the server last class. I had created one Linux server, okay? And this is currently the instance state is stopped. Okay, so how we can start it? Select this one and go to instance state, and here you can see start instance. So when we start instance, guys, remember, see, the server is now stopped, right? But if you see here, there is no public IP attached. There is no public IP attached. However, the private IP is already there, and this will be there until unless you terminate the Linux server or terminate the EC2 instances. This will be the common, but the public IP alone will be changed. That will be dynamically changed when you stop your instance and recreate it. Remember it. So this is our only practice, because we are not going to create and buy one static IP and attach to the server. What we are going to do, when we stop it and restart it, we'll get a new public IP, and with that public IP, we can able to connect. Hold on, guys, just 1 minute. Sorry, guys. Actually, the broadband connection that guy was doing now, so he was calling me to come and show me the place, so he'll connect the broadband connection. So I sent my brother to go there and show the house. Okay. So what you can see here, the public IP, right? The public IP is not displayed here. So let me start the instance and see. So if I go and click the start instance, so it will take some time, and see, as soon as I click the start instance, it attached one public IP. See, you can see here also one public DNS. Right? So if I go here the dashboard and see any, yeah, any questions, guys?
Yeah, Ranjit, one question here. Is it public IP is dynamic or it is static?
It's a dynamic one. It will be changed because we don't have a static IP. So we have one options called elastic IP. This elastic IP section. So we'll learn it later in the course. What is this elastic IP and how we can create this elastic IP is provided by AWS is the static one. So we can create our elastic own IP and we can attach to the server so that it will treat as the static. As long as you are using that, it will never change. But this one is actually the dynamic one. So last class the IP was different, and today the IP is different because I restarted it. Okay, so let me just go to this, copy it. So I'll just do it.
While we are connecting with the Linux server, Ranjit,
Uh-huh.
one minute. While we are connecting with the Linux server, so initially while we create an instance, that we are using that private IP, right? So that IP will be also static or dynamic kind of things. It will be no change, right, for that IP while we stopped it, and after some time we just start it.
No, 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 no. Which IP you were talking about? When we connected the first time, right, from our terminal? That one you were talking about?
Yeah, yeah. First instance first terminal well connected.
Mhm.
We are giving the private that IP, right?
No, no, we are giving not giving private IP. We are giving the certificate, PEM file, right? That is the certificate. So suppose we are giving this demo Linux server key, right? This is the certificate.
The
This
host name,
contains. Acha, the
host
whole.
name. We are giving this IP. Yes.
One second. Let me just connect. So suppose this is the
No,
certificate.
Ranjit, his question is like whenever we are creating instance,
Mhm.
in that time we are having one private IP and one public IP, right?
Yes.
So in private IP, we are
Yeah.
copying that private IP and we are connecting to the Linux server,
No, we are copying the public.
and we are using this authentication for.
No, 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 no,
We
guys.
are copying public IP only.
I'm always copying the public IP. I never copy the private IPs.
Okay. Okay.
So I always copy the
Yes.
pub.
Then it is not static.
Yes. So
Yes.
it is not static.
Okay. Then it's dynamic only. Then
It's
every time
dynamic
it will
one.
be.
Every time it will
Okay.
be
Okay.
changed
Got it.
because see anyway this private will be static one and that will be there until unless you terminate your session. Remember guys, these are the questions. Okay, these are the questions even you'll get interview as well as you'll get in the certifications if you are planning to do. Okay, if we create a server, the private IP will be a static IP until unless you terminate or delete the server, the IP will be the same, the private IP. But the public IP of an instance is dynamic. It will change even though you restart your server. If you restart your server, it will change. So this actually for students are for doing R&D and practices, we are using this dynamic IP. But normally organizations, they don't use dynamic IP. That's not the way to use. They use the static IP to connect the servers, right? Because every time you use the dynamic IP, it will be very difficult to connect the servers, to connect to the applications because something will break if you are using a new IP. Okay, you have to change the configurations file from anywhere. Most of the configuration files need to be changed. So all these details we will see when we'll be doing our DevOps class. That time we'll change the dynamic IPs and we'll see how the configurations required to be changed. Okay, now let me just hit enter and connect to the server. So it will just ask the fingerprint, connect. You can see here I can able to connect the EC2 instances. Okay, remember guys, when we created the EC2 instances, we got the emails, we got the image, right? So the image is the Linux image, and that is the operating system was created by somebody, by the AWS. If you are getting the AWS market, it was created by the AWS, or you are getting it from the community, it will be created by someone else, right? So that means whatever the operating systems we got it, that is not up to date, means that is not updated, right? So what we have to do, the first thing is we have to update it. So for updating, we have to use sudo super user sudo, and then what we have to do, sudo update. Okay,
That's why.
so what we have to use one package manager for that. So we can use sudo yum update
Update.
and then hyphen y. That means we are, as this is a Linux, Amazon Linux, the package manager for Amazon Linux is yum, and for Ubuntu it is apt get, apt hyphen get, or only apt. So there are many package managers in the market. You can use any one of them. Okay. So just hit enter. What will say? It just updated the Linux environment. Okay.
One doubt, Ranjit here.
Yeah, please tell me.
Instead of going directly, is it possible like we can log into root user and we can update this command? I mean, run this command
Anyway,
instead of
Sudo
dct
does
user.
yeah. You can
That will
log in.
also help, right?
See, yeah, you can log into as sudo, right? See, root user means you are using the certificate. That is means your root user only, right? So you have to change the normal user to sudo su, then you become the root. So EC2 user, the root user itself, it has the root privileges. Okay. And also if you have become the super user root, you can just connect to the root user. Anyway, any server you have to log in, you cannot directly log into the root. You have to log in via any user and then change to root and then do all the works, right? So now you can see here, instead of that, instead of sudo su, I use that sudo su only. So I became now root user, right? You can see here I became root user. Or else, if you don't want to become root user and exit, you can simply execute sudo yum update, right? Yeah, Dilip, any doubt or?
No. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it.
So let me quickly install one software now. So the basic software I'm going to install now is the Apache server. Okay, so let's quickly go here and install one Apache server. Install. So for yum package manager, the Apache is httpd, okay, hyphen y. Yeah, it is installed successfully. Just 1 second, guys, just 1 second. You can also, if you have already installed one purchased or provisioned any EC2 instances, you can also install it. Just 1 second, okay? Okay, so we have now installed our Apache server. So to check whether the Apache server is installed successfully or not, so we can execute a command called systemctl, system control command, systemctl. Okay, so we can use status httpd. Okay, status httpd. So what it can do, okay, spelling mistake. So it should be systemctl. Okay, system systemctl status of httpd. So what it says, it is inactive. So I can now start the server, sudo systemctl start httpd. Okay, so what it
HTTP.
yeah, so it will just start the server. If we see the status now, it will give us that it is running, active and running. See, it is active now. So how we'll connect this server, because this is Apache server, it's a web server, right? Web application. So how we can connect it? So simply we can go get the public IP, go to your browser, paste it here and hit enter. Okay, see, now we can able to connect our Apache server. Okay, now let me just quickly go to the root folder and modify the index file. Okay, index.html file. So how we can do, guys? Simply it is, so you have to go var www slash html. Okay, so if you go to this folder, you'll find nothing is there. Okay, so that means that is running in the no index.html file. So what we are going to do, we are going to create one index.html file over here. So how we can do, just use sudo vi index.html. I'm just quickly drafting one HTML file content. Center, center. So what I can do here, so I can just give h1 something, I can give it here. Okay, so I just added simple HTML file, and if I go and refresh it, right, what will happen? See, now my application has changed, right? So this is my application, and I can access and install one application server, web server, Apache web server, and there I just hosted my application on the server. So now through this IP you can easily host your or access your applications, right? If you want to get this like the user friendly name, or you can just use this DNS name also. If you go get the DNS, copy the public DNS and just go here and paste it, it will also open the same application. See, it can open the same applications. Okay, so we can connect using the IP addresses as well as the DNS name. So DNS name always actually the user friendly, like the human readable format, like my website is suppose ranjitswain.com. So I can easily connect to the ranjitswain.com instead of going and getting the IP and putting it here and getting my application. I can just give ranjitswain.com and I'll get my applications there. So now the thing is, we got our application running. And remember guys, the HTTP server, like the Apache server, the default port is 80. So if we go to our security group, okay, so how we will check the security group of this server? If you can see the security sections over here, click this, and you can find it here. Like I have given port 80 to anywhere, that means anyone can access. So guys, if you can just copy, let me just ping you, and just try to hit in your browser, and see whether you can also connect or not. Obviously you will get also connect to the applications. Okay, just hit it. I'm going to block your IP, and we'll see how it works using the firewall, using the security group. Okay, so how we can do that? Simply, you can just click on the security group. So this is the demo Linux security group, which is attached to this server. Okay, what we can do, just click on this server, sorry, security group, and we have to modify the rules. We have to modify the inbound rules. How we can do? Simply click the edit inbound rules, and what we can do, instead of giving you all, let me remove the IP6 ID, or let it be there. Okay, remove my IP6 ID. So what we can do here guys, you can see here, instead of, I have given HTTP port 80, I have given the custom IP, but the IP is public now. 400 is public IP. Now I can give mine IP only. You can see one section is called mine IP. So select my IP. You can see here, this is only mine IP. Okay, now I'm going to save the rules. So before that, just close me this one and save the rules. Now I gave access to only my IP, so I can access this application from my laptop. So no one else can connect to this server. So can you guys now refresh your page and see whether you can able to access it?
So my IP, the public or private? Which one?
So my IP is the my laptop IP. It is always private. It's my IP. It's my laptop IP.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
so if you see, it will not be working, right? One second.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry guys. So if we okay, now let me what I can do. You cannot able to access the server, right? So if I get this public IP and hit it, see, I can only access. Okay, I can only access. If you want to provide anyone else, okay, suppose if you want to provide access to Venkat or Madi, so what you can do, you can just go to the security group again. So there in the inbound rule, you can add the specific IP addresses of those persons who you want to give access. Guys, you understood clearly how it is the security group and how the firewall access works. Okay, so this way you have to just edit the security groups inbound rules. Also there is another way you can do it. What you can do, if you don't open the server and go to the security groups, you can see here in the left hand panel there is one more network and security sections. Here we can find one security groups. Okay, just click this security groups. Okay, and here you'll find there are lots of security groups will be there. Okay, for me I have created lots of security groups. So what we can do here, so my security group whatever attached to the demo server is demo linux sg, right? So again you have to click this one and you can edit the inbound rules. Okay, just go, and if you don't want to specify it, what you can do, just delete it and can give anywhere. So now I gave anywhere so that anybody can now access the applications. Okay, suppose this applications is my customer facing applications. I want anybody in the world want to connect it. Okay, now this is clear. Similarly, if you want to give any protocols, okay, if you want to give access to any protocols, just go here and add rules. You can add multiple rules. Okay, just go and select what protocol you want to give, whether you want to give SMTP protocol, IMAP protocol, or SMTP protocol, whatever it is, you can give it.
Hello.
Oh, one second, one second. Yeah, sorry guys, I was getting the call from that person. Okay, so now suppose you want to give any access to any protocol. Suppose HTTPS. If you want to give access to HTTPS, you can provide, click it, and it will be done. Then save rules. Similarly, you can also restrict the outbound rules. Okay. So now we saw about the inbound rules. Now, if you want to do some outbound rules, so what is the inbound and outbound, guys? Can anybody tell me what is inbound rules and what is outbound rules? Can anybody tell me?
The incoming flow which will be defined from which is the source where it is going to connect to the server. In outbound from the server where you are going to take a request. Suppose you have multi-layer application, your application layer is connecting to the DB. So when it will send a request to the database server, so that will be defined under outbound rule.
Mhm. Yeah. So the inbound rules actually where you want, so to whom you want to allow the inbound connection to your server. Means from outside to your server, you are giving the access. Outbound means from your server to the world. Like suppose from this server, if you want to connect any other server, so suppose database server or any other application server or anything, any other applications or laptops, you can still do that. Okay, you can, where you have to do, you have to just go and edit the outbounds rule. If you see here, the outbounds rule actually is given for all traffic. You can see here all traffic, for destination, everything, everywhere, like public, right? If you want to restrict the outbounds rule, can you give an example, guys, where we restrict the outbound connections? You guys are every day dealing this one, okay? In your company, you are dealing every day. Can you tell me one example where you use this outbound rules to restrict it?
Like external mails to company.
Exactly, that is one example. So we restrict that external emails. Then
Some other websites, something like we can't connect Google itself, some FRA domain,
yes, so that servers we can,
Gmail accounts from ours.
yeah, so those things, whatever the firewall access we're talking about, so that actually will do with the access control list, network access control list, which we'll see in the later classes. That kind of rules, deny and allow rules, can be done through the SCLs. But this one, the outbound rules, whatever traffics you want to block, right? You want to provide only that one, only you can give it. Suppose you want only access to your particular mail server or particular application server or particular DB server. So you can just give, instead of all, you can give the IP address of that destination server. That means this server only can access to that server and it will not access to anything else. Okay. So similarly, whenever you are working on your laptop, office laptop, right, and you will be trying to connect some other server, you will not be able to do that because they will have blocked everything. Okay, now you understood about the security groups and the firewall access, how we can block the security groups and how we can um, see the public IPs and how we can restrict to yourselves, okay, the private IPs and all. So we saw now in the security groups. Now, next move on and provision one Windows server. Okay, that's also very important because we are not going to only work on Linux machines. We are going to work on Windows server as well, right? EC2 Windows EC2 instances. So what we have to do, just go here instances. Let me delete. Okay, so I'm not going to use this running this demo Linux server. Okay, my work is done. I delivered the project to the client. This server is no more required and I want to terminate it after taking some backups. Okay, those backup details we'll learn in later classes. But for time being, let me delete the terminate this server. So how we'll do it? Select it, instant state, terminate your instance. Okay. So what it says, failed to terminate an instance. Can you tell why it is failed? Why it did not allow me to terminate? Can anybody tell me quickly? Last class we had discussed.
I think while creating the instance, you could have enabled or disabled that preventing the termination option.
Exactly. So that's the reason. So while creating the EC2 instance server, I had enabled the termination protection. Okay. That means if I terminate it by mistake, it will not allow me to terminate it. Okay. So before that, what we have to do, we have to first disable the termination protection, then terminate it. So what we have to do now, select the server, go action, and here you can see instance settings. Okay, in the instance setting you can find change termination protection. Okay, click this termination protection, and here it is enabled. Let's disable it, save it. Now if I just select, go here and terminate it, it will see, it will simply allow me to terminate the server. So my server is now shutting down, it will be deleted. Okay, so let it delete the server. So we'll quickly go ahead and create one more EC2 instances, but this time we will create Windows instances. Okay, so you can see here one launch instance option is there. Just go ahead and click the launch instance, and see, we have to select suppose Windows. I'll go with Windows server, and we can find it here. They provide this first two at free tier eligible. Okay, so 2019 base server, and this is Microsoft Windows. What you can see, this image is a simple Microsoft Windows 2000 data center edition. However, the below one, 2019 data center edition with containers. That means this image has the Docker container pre-installed. Okay, so if you use this image to create your machine, you will have already the default containers available. Okay, so I don't need these containers for the time being because we're not going to launch the container now. We'll see this in our DevOps section. So let me just go ahead and select the image. And here what we have to do, we have to just select the instance type. Obviously I'll go with free tier eligible, hit, and let's do leave everything default. Okay, I'm not going to change anything until unless we create our own VPC, own networks. These things will learn in our separate networking section. Okay, now I'm going to add storage. So here, see guys, here somebody was asking me about the root volume type, right? So when we created the Linux, it was the root, and even though if you create Windows machines, the volume type is root. Okay, and that's because the root volumes is always the bootable volumes which will be installed your operating system. Okay, now you can see this snapshot, right? This snapshot ID is the Windows snapshot ID, and by default it takes 30 GB of storage. 30 GB of storage. So what is our free tier limit? 30 GB only. Our free tier limit is 30 GB. Okay. So if you create or add beyond 30 GB, you will be charged for that. Okay. So let me give you an example here. Here I have 30 GB, but I already have three Linux servers running for my project. So three Linux server default I have given 8 GB. That means 24 GB I already have in this account, and I am adding 30 more GB on top of that. What will happen? Now 30 GB is free, but you will be charged for 24 GB of storage per hour. Okay, per hour basis you will be charged. But if I delete it immediately after using, so you are not going to be charged for that. Okay, so let me quickly go ahead and add one tag here. So add tag.
Volume.
Sorry.
Hello. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
hello.
is a volume type option. Yeah, Ranjit, there is a volume type option was there.
One second. Let
the
me
previous
go.
state.
Yeah, go to previous. First, let me add the name. Suppose Win server. Okay. Let me go to demo Win server.
Yeah. Volume type SSD.
Yeah, that we had discussed it last class, right? So the volume time you can select whatever you want, right? General purpose, provisioned or magnetic. For the root, it comes three types of volumes. But if you add EBS volume, last class we discussed, right? If we add EBS volumes, and you'll have multiple other options like cold SSD, throughput optimized SSD. Based on the volume types your requirement, you have to choose it. Okay, for this demo, I don't need any other volumes to work it. Remember, you have to know and remember about the volume types because this cold SSD and throughput optimized SSD are not bootables. Okay, are not bootables. So if you are going to use some bootable device and okay, let me just use suppose throughput optimized SSD for this one. Okay, and see by default it takes 125 GB, but I don't need this to give it. But you guys understood, right? What you have to choose it. This is a default, I choose it general purpose. If you want provisioned IOPS, you can go with provisioned IOPS. So when we need provisioned IOPS, when you are going to use the
That's for large applications.
exactly. Large applications like big data, data warehousing and all, and you need the input output intensive performance. You need higher performance where you are using the big data and higher data. That's why you need provisioned IOs. Okay, you have to go for IO1. But for this demo, I don't need that, so I'll go with general purpose SSD. Okay, so now move.
Ranjit, suppose if you forgot to select the delete on termination, is there any way can we manually delete these volumes after the instance stop or instant
Yeah,
termination?
that I'll show you. That I'll show you. Don't worry. Yes.
Okay.
So what he said, let's remove this. Okay. Delete on termination. That means if I select delete on terminations, when I terminate the machine, it will delete the volumes automatically. Okay. Delete the volumes automatically. So if I don't want to delete the volumes when I terminate the server, you can unselect it, we can uncheck it. Okay, so what will happen now if I okay, let me just quickly go to the let me show you the volumes now. So if I go to the volume sections, here you can find the volumes in the dashboard. Okay, I have three volumes. Okay, I have three volumes. Also you can find the volumes because we have a separate volume classes for that. We'll see that one, creating the snapshots on volume. We'll a separate class, will take that time. But let me show you. If you go and click this volumes, and you'll find I have already three volumes, and you can see here for Ansible, Tomcat server, Jenkins server, I have three volumes created and all are in use. Okay, that means these three volumes are belongs to these three servers. I have three servers already in my account, right? One, two, three. These three servers already there in account. So whatever the demo server we had created and we terminated the demo server, that also deleted the volumes because we had selected delete on termination. That's why it deleted the volume. But let me show you. This time I'm not giving it, but I'm not selecting it. Let's move on. Add tags and give the name. Add security group. So this security group, when we see here, the first time when we create for Linux, what it was the type default was SSH, okay, secure shell, and the TCP protocol that was for 22. Okay, 22. But if you see it here, as we are going to create our Windows server, Windows machine, by default it is having RDP connection, RDP protocol access. Okay, by default anywhere, because that is what we need to connect RDP protocol, or RDP, using RDP only we can connect our Windows server. Okay, so now either we can select any existing security group or we can create it. So last class I had shown you how to create new security group and attach to that. But this time let me show you an existing security group. If I go and search it here, I definitely would have one security group for Windows machine, right? Okay, I have already one security group like Win Server Demo. I can select this security group and you can see what other things are there. It has HTTP protocol access, also RDP access. Okay, suppose I want to use this security group, I can select it, review and launch. Go ahead and launch it. So while launching it, we can, last time we created our own key files, create a new key files. Okay, but this time let me choose an existing key pair. Okay, choose an existing key file. So if you see it here, I have this 8 July hyphen win server keys. Let me first check whether I have already this key with me or not. Okay, sorry. So if I go to my download folder and search for certificate file, sit, and yes, I have already one key file called 8 July Win Server. Already another file also there, winserver.pem for Windows Server. Okay, so let me choose any one of them. So what I can do, just go ahead. Let me add the Win Server, okay, Windows Server. What is that? Please. Okay, no, it's not, it's a different one. Okay, so let me select 8 July Win Server, because 8 July Win Server is belongs to this account, 8 July Win Server. Okay, fine. So what I can do, I selected the existing key pair. Now let's acknowledge it, launch instance. So what you'll do, you can see here your instances are now launching. So view instances, and what we can do here, just refresh it or go to your dashboard, click instance running, and if you just refresh it, Windows machines normally take some time to get boot up, because normally Windows is heavier than Linux. Okay, just, yeah, so it's now running. You can see our Windows server is now running. So if you click this Windows instance,
Small query.
yeah, please.
So actually, you have selected the PEM file like Windows one.
Yeah.
So yesterday we have created Linux server and we have used PEM file. So for Windows also, do we need to create any new other PEM file, or can we use old one also, Linux PEM file?
You can use that one also, until unless you have the same certificates you can use it. But I just specifically gave for Windows server, because I don't want BC. Remember guys, in real organization or company, you don't have to use a single certificate, because each server you'll have a different certificates to connect, because the server has their own certificate. If you use the same certificate, that is actually security concerns, security breach may happen, because if somebody hacked your certificate and you have 15 servers and you are using the same certificate file, what will happen? He can easily access to your 15 servers. That's a security concern, right? That's a security breach. It's always advisable to secure your server using different certificate files. Got it? So we can use the Linux, whatever had created for that, we can still use that one also, because we need only the keys to unlock the server. To unlock the server. Now, if you see here, I'll give you some example here. Let me see here. We can see the public IP is connected. Okay. Now, how we can connect this server? How we can connect this server? You can see here one connect option is there, right? Connect option there. So what you can do, just click connect. Once you click connect, you will find two options here: using session connect to instance using session manager, also using RDP client. Okay, so select the RDP client. Suppose I want to use my RDP client, I can select this RDP client. Here you can see the username. As I had told you in the last class, the username, default username is administrator. Administrator. Okay. So you got the username, but how you get the password to connect this server? To generate the password, you can see here one option called get password. You can see here get password, right? So let me get this password. To get this password, see the key pair is associated with this instance is 8 July Win server. If you associate other key pairs like Linux key pairs, whatever we had created, the key pair for the Linux machines, okay, for the Linux machines, that also you can associate with this server. And while associating this server, you have to decrypt the certificate to get the password. So how you will decrypt it? Simply browse to the certificate here where you have kept the certificate. Okay. Now suppose let me go to my downloads folder, and here suppose 8 July server. Okay, let me select this demo first. Demo Linux. What will happen? Let me show you. If I select it here, just decrypt password. We can decrypt the password. What happens? It did not work actually. It did not work because the server, the key is associated only 8 July Win server. That is the key file. If I associate something else, or if I just upload something else, it will not decrypt the password. Now this time let me give the 8 July password. Let's see, and decrypt password. See, it gave me the password. This is the password for this server to connect. Okay. So now the point is how we connect the server. So you guys have already one RDP in your Windows machines. Like similarly, I have also in RDP my Mac machine. So what I can do, I can simply go for remote desktop. So Microsoft Remote Desktop also there is one in MacBook. I can just hit it. Same thing also available in your desktop, in your Windows machine, right? So what I can do here, I can just go and add new PC, and here the PC name is your public IP or the host name of the server. So what is the host name of your server? Just go to the instances and go to your Windows server. You can either get the host name or the public DNS, or you can get the public IPv4 address. So copy this IPv4 address, okay, and go to here, paste it. So user account as when required, that's fine, or you can just select add user account. Suppose username I can give as administrator. Administrator, and the password. Okay, so where is the password? I have to copy. Hey, what happened? Okay, I did not copy the password, right? Okay, let me go here again and connect and delete and decrypt the. Sorry, not this one. I have to go to the Windows server. You can do it here. Select and connect it here. RDP connection. Let me re-decrypt it. Browse. Okay, copy the password. Go to your machine. Put the password here and give it a Add it. So let's add it. I added my server here. Let me connect it. First time it will ask to verify the certificate. Okay. Similarly, when we connect to our Linux server, it will be asked to verify the fingerprint, right? Certificate fingerprint. Similarly, it is also asking to verify the fingerprint or the certificate authenticity, right? So certificate, if you are okay with this certificate, you can go ahead and continue. So as soon as you continue it, it will try to connect your server using the default user ID administrator and the password. Okay. See, now I'm connected to the Windows machine. So now I connected to the Windows machine here. You can see here, you can just go here, Internet Explorer, you can browse whatever you want. So if you go here and see the C drive, we have the C drive here. So this PC, C drive, see, we had selected 30 GB, and out of 30 GB, the free storage is 14.6 GB of free storage. The rest are occupied by the operating systems. Okay. Now, if you want to do anything, you can do on these systems. You can install any applications, you can do whatever you want in this server. Okay. So guys, clear? You know how to do that and how to navigate. If you want to store any file, just go to the C drive, install any applications, install any softwares, whatever you want, you can do it. Suppose, let me just quickly install one Chrome browser. So I have one Windows Explorer here, and I want to suppose install Chrome. You can do it here. So we are getting some privacy settings. Okay. And okay, so it says the configuration is enabled. Okay, let me fix this one. If you're getting this kind of things, what you can do, go here and you'll find one server manager, right? Server manager, click this server manager, and okay, so if you click this local server, and you can find it here, Internet Explorer enhanced security configurations. It is on, so let it off it. Otherwise, all the time you'll get these warnings and it will irritate you. Okay, so I'm just making this off for all users and administrator. Okay, okay. Now what I did, I just off this one. So let me just go to the Internet Explorer now. Changes to the user screen could not be saved. Verify that you have adequate user rights and availability space to fine. So let me just refresh Google. Okay, it did not happen. Okay, again, let's go to the server quickly. Server manager. Local server. So we got some error. Okay, the IT unit, it's already off, right? Why it says okay. Fine. Okay, so what you can do, you can install Chrome. So this will irritate you. Now let me just go here. Why it is okay? It should be okay now. Let me just close this. Okay. So what you can do, you can just download the Chrome. You can just like it's not working. Download the Chrome now. I just showed you one simple example of installing Chrome. Okay, so you can download the Chrome and install whatever you want. You can do it similarly to our Linux environment. So now, guys, there are many cloud service providers like AWS, which provides actually the servers. You can get it. Suppose you don't have to go and get your own laptop. Suppose you have a Mac laptop and you want to work on a Windows server. What you have to do, you have to just go to the AWS or go to the Azure or Google Cloud and get one provision one Windows machine and do all your project related work or study related work on the Windows server. Or if we have a Windows server, like we get our Linux server from the cloud virtual machine, cloud machines, and then we work it. Similarly, we can get your Windows server and simply start working. Okay, what happened? It's not downloading. Maybe my network is slow. Okay, so guys, this is how you can just go ahead and connect to the server and do all the works. Any doubt, guys, so far we need to discuss? Okay, so what?
No, no.
Okay, great. So what I can do, I can just close this Windows server, and you can see I have already like whenever I connect, I will have all these servers. I want to delete some. Let's delete this one. It's not required. Fine. So now you learn how to get and provision one Windows server and connect to the Windows machines. Okay. So let's move on and discuss something about the volumes. Okay. So when Sivaram or somebody asked me, right, if we delete that one, whether the volumes will be there or not, right? See, if we go there, the instances, and we'll try to terminate it. Okay, what will happen, guys? We have, if you go to the volume sections, you'll see we have four volumes now. One demo win server, and the rest three are Unix volumes, Linux volumes I have, right? So demo win server is there with 30 GB of size. Okay, what will happen if I go and delete the server? So if I go here, go to the instances and select it and delete, terminate the instance. Okay, let's terminate the instance. So what happens? I successfully terminated the Windows server. Okay, so let me refresh it and see, it is now terminated. Okay, it is shutting down and it will be terminated. What will happen to the volumes now? If we go to the volumes, it will be still there. See, the volume is still there. And if you go here, it still says in use. Guys, this is actually things to remember and know. Even though you terminate the server and you did not clear out the volumes, you will be still charged for that volumes in your account, because you can see it here. I have already the 24 GB volumes, but I added 30 GB extra. So now I have 54 GB of volumes, but all are in use. State are all are in use. So AWS charged based on the volume size you procured. Okay, you provisions the storage. They will keep you charged. Even though you think you'll be thinking like I'm not using the server, then how it will be charged? So what is that? If you use or not, but your volumes are in use, your volumes are in use, so they will keep you charging for this in use volumes. Okay, if you want to delete this volume, select it, actions, and delete the volumes. Okay, what we can do first, we cannot delete directly. What we have to do first, detach the volume. Why it is still, it is showing not detached? Because the, if you see it here, the server, the Unix server is not fully terminated. If you go here, it is not fully terminated. It is still showing terminated, but it is not fully detached from this Windows server. What we can do, we can just go ahead to the volumes, select the volume, demo server, first detach it. Okay, now we can see here it is already detached. already detached. If it is already being used, you can, what you can do, you can detach the volume. Okay, now let's see here. You can see here available. Now it is not in use, it is still available. Okay, what we can do here, select the volumes, go here, delete it. Before delete, if you want to take any snapshot or backups, you can do that one. So how we can do it, let me just simply show you. Select the volume, actions, create snapshot. What you can do, you can create snapshot of the volume before deleting. Okay, now let me create a snapshot. So guys, these snapshots, images and everything, let's keep it for the next class. uh, no, let me quickly do it. Okay, suppose what I'm going to do, let's create a snapshot out of this volume. So what I can do, select this volume, create a snapshot. See guys, snapshots are chargeable. Okay, you'll be charged for the snapshot. Okay, so description I can give a meaningful description. What is your snapshot contains? When you are going to take a snapshot of a server, it should be meaningful descriptions. We should know what your server contains and what the same snapshot will also contain. Suppose it is a blank Windows server. I don't have anything, and suppose I install a Git, or I installed Jenkins or any kind of tools, or I installed Chrome here. So what I can do, Windows Git Chrome snapshot, right? I can give the snapshot. Anything, it should be meaningful, right? Snapshot. So here the description you can give, but the volume ID is this one. So give a tag to that, and I can copy this description and put in the name as well. Name, put in the name, create a snapshot. See, create snapshot equals succeeded. This is the snapshot ID. Okay, now let me go. I created the snapshot out of this volume. So where I can find the snapshot, if you can see here in the Elastic Block Store, the snapshots, you can find the snapshots over here. See, the snapshot is getting created and its status is pending and the size is 30 GB, whatever it is you just created, everything is there. So let's just wait for a few seconds, let it complete. You can refresh it and it will take few minutes to get the snapshot created. Okay, so once the snapshot created, we can go ahead and delete the volumes. Okay, but remember guys, this snapshot are not in the free tier, we have to pay for that. Okay, so as long as you keep the snapshots, you have to pay for that. So this is for our demo, so we'll delete the snapshot as well after checking it. Okay, this, okay, now we can see here our snapshot is created, is completed. Okay, now let me go ahead and delete the volume. Demo server, actions, and delete volume. Delete it. Now my volume is deleted, but I have the snapshot or the backup taken from the volume. Okay, now if you want tomorrow to get a server created from this snapshot, if you want to boot up a server from this snapshot, how you can do, just select this snapshot. Okay, you can do and create a volume. You can create a volume to, once you create a volume, that volume you can attach to a server. Another way you can do it, you can create image out of the snapshot. So what the image contains guys, the image contains the operating systems, the applications, or whatever you want pre-installed in that, and bundle it one image, right? So what we are going to do, whatever snapshots is, now we are going to create an image now. So let's create an image. So for creating image, you have to give some description. Suppose like give me the same name as Windows Chrome snapshot. I can inside of snapshot I can give image. Same thing. Let me copy it here. Okay. And the rest of the things you can see here, the image will have the root volumes and the snapshot. You can guys see this with the snapshot. This the snapshot is our snapshot which we had taken. You can see the ID here. This is our snapshot ID, right? B35 00B35. So if I go here, or jumping over here. Okay. So if I here see 00B35. Okay. Now what I can do, I just go ahead and create the image. Hit create image. Oh my God. What is happening? Okay, go ahead and create image. Give a name to that. Create. So the image will be created now. Okay. Just wait for a few seconds. Hope it will be created soon. Did I miss anything? Why it is not creating? Okay, I got it. It's actually network slow. It's not creating. Okay, okay guys, what we'll do, let me go to this internet connection. I'm going to there now. So we have to wind up the session now. So what I'm going to do, upload these videos, okay? And so you just try to practice it, create the snapshot, and a task I'm going to give you. So this time when I created the snapshot, this snapshot was not having any application installed there. So for you, what I'm going to do, I'll just tell you to provision one EC2 instance Linux machine, okay? And that Linux machine, try to install any Apache server like I did it in the morning, right? Install the Apache server and install and deploy your applications, like create one text file and take the applications. What you do after doing all this, so guys, this is a task for you. Just remember, after doing all this, take a snapshot of your volume. Take a snapshot of your volume, and from that snapshot try to create an image like I did, right? There is a problem with my server and it is actually, see, it is lost jumping over and my mouse is not working. So that's why it's not, I'm not able to click that. It's not working. For you, what you have to do, you have to create an image. Okay, so once you create that image, there is something happened to me, it's not actually functioning well. Okay, so create an image, and next class I'll show you how we can get our own server out of our existing, our own images, and we'll see what are the applications pre-installed. Same thing is available on the server. This is a task. If you can do it, or else in our next class we'll see it. Okay.
So you mean to say, Ranjit, from this snapshot, we can go ahead and we can create the similar machine, whatever we created before.
Exactly. We can create it. So don't create.
Ranjit, but
Yeah,
yeah, but when we terminate a server, right, all the related space will also automatically release, right?
Only when we stop, only the space will be exist and they will be charged.
Exactly.
But when we terminate a server, there won't be any charge, right?
Okay. But when you terminate the server, the volumes also terminated. So we are not going to be charged for that. Okay. But if you have taken a snapshot out of that, if you have taken a snapshot out of that, you will have the snapshot of the volume. Your entire volume is in the snapshot. So they will charge you for the snapshot, for the image you created, for the snapshot you created, they will charge you. But if you use the server and terminate it, they will not charge you. Got it?
But
Basically,
whenever we
how
are
much
stopping the server,
Sorry?
whenever we are stopping the server, still volume will run behind, right?
Exactly. Volume will be still there. Volume will be there. Even the server also will be
That
there,
means
right?
it will be charged.
It will be charged.
Yes.
That will, if you stop the server, it will be charged. If you terminate the server, it will not be charged. Okay. So again, if you are under the limit, under the 30 GB limit, then you will not be charged. If you are beyond 30 GB, you will be charged. You guys, you understand my points, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So if you want, you create multiple AWS account and create all the server. You may have multiple 2 or 3 AWS account in one. You put Windows server in one. The rest of the Linux server, so you won't be built.
Yes. Also, if you don't want, you can just do practice, because we are not going to keep it for the to run all the time, right? We are not going to keep it for run all the time. We need it for our learning purposes, right? We are doing some R&D. So whatever the development work you do it after, if you don't use it, just stop the server, and if you don't at all use it, terminate the server. Okay. Anyway, you have to pay for that, because if you think like I'll take a snapshot and delete all my servers, but they'll charge you for the snapshot. They'll charge you for the snapshots. Okay, so the snapshots, as I told, it does not comes under the free.
no, even until 30 GB, it will be not chargeable. Means no, you after this cross only it will be chargeable. Correct?
Exactly. After it crossed, it will be chargeable. Until 30 GB, it is free. Until 30 GB, it is free. Another twist,
Okay.
guys, another twist here. Suppose you are creating, as per their free tier, they are providing one EC2 instance for running for 375 hours. 375 hours free. 375 means more than 1 year. Sorry, 375 days. Sorry, 375 days or something, it is free, right? Now they are giving it for one server. If you created 3 servers and you kept it running for 1 year, then they will just reduce 375 days or hours free. The rest they will charge you. Okay, the rest they will charge you. If those servers are running, if not running, then you don't have to pay anything for that. So if you created 3 servers and you only used only one server to do your work, all totally calculations should be not more than 375 days for a year. Okay, sorry, 375 hours per month. Okay, 1 second.
750 hours per month, right?
Sorry, 750 hours per month. Yes, 750 hours per month. For 750 hours per month. Suppose 750 hours per month. Suppose you are using one EC2 instances for the entire month for 750 hours. So we have not to pay for anything. If you run two machines, so two machines, so this one machine is running for 750 hours, the other also running for 750 hours. So totally it is 1500 hours. So they will just deduct 750 hours, the rest 750 hours they'll charge you. Okay, if you run two machines parallelly for 1 month, okay, that's one thing. One more thing, if you want, suppose today you opened three servers for 2 hours, okay, you opened three servers, you started running three servers for 2 hours for your work, and then you stopped it, and then next after a few days you again opened it. So the accumulative, right, the entire calculations of those servers, how many hours it is running, even though you have three servers or two servers or one server, it should be below 370 hours, entirely the combinations of three servers. Okay.
Yeah, Ranjit. Ranjit, I have one doubt, Ranjit. Like I posted in chat also. I don't think you guys are seen or not.
Okay.
See, for me, when I give a security inbound rules, right? When I give my IP, it is showing some other IP. But when I go to Google and type my IP, it is showing different IP. I don't know, like just because of this, I'm unable to connect Unix from my IP. I'm giving like a
Yes,
global IP means.
I got your point. See, when you select my IP on AWS, it gives a different IP. When you select when you select in Google what is my IP, it gives different IP. Why it is? Because can anybody tell me, please, how IP generates in normal networking? How IP?
Because in Google, it is showing your system IP, and in there it is showing like AWS instance created IP.
No, no, no.
Actually, the thing it is, IP will generate based on our gateway, right? Default gateway. My
Exactly.
means like my IPv4 having my machine having IPv4, it is showing my private IP. When I connected through internet, my router is changing my private IP into one of the public IP. From that by public IP, I'm connecting to whatever the website I'm requesting from my private IP.
Yes.
Am I
So,
correct, Ranjit?
so it is, see, if you have a network now connected, suppose you are connected to a network, Airtel network. Okay, suppose you are connected to the Airtel network to your laptop. If you do what is my IP, it will give you one address. If you switch your network to another one and give what is my IP, it will give a different one. Because the IP contains both network ID and the host ID. So always the network ID differs based on the networks. Based on the networks, the IP differs. When we say my IP in AWS, AWS has a different network connection and your laptop has a different network connections. That's why you are getting different IP address for AWS as well as for laptop. Okay. If I go and give here my what is my IP, so it will give me a different IP. What is my IP? It gives me IPv4 6. Okay, it gives me IPv4 6. Now, if I go to this EC2 instances, uh, if I go to this EC2 instances and start just any one of the instances, suppose, okay, let me go to any security group, and if I say what is my IP, it will give my different IP, right? Suppose, yeah, let me go here, and if I go edit inbound rows, should not be inbound rows, it should be out inbound rows, go inbound rows. And if I select here, let me this HTTP, and if I select my IP, it will give you a different IP here, 223.176.116.130, 32. This is the IP when I select this my IP from AWS network, from the AWS network. AWS has a different network and I have a different network. So when I give my IP in Google, it gives me IPv4 6 IP, right? It gives me IPv4 6. So this is my IP address.
Yeah, Ranjit, one question. When your laptop is connected to the network,
Yes.
okay, network is a default gateway. there is a different IP address,
Yes,
and your IP also is different. There
yes.
is a two different. But when you are going the by network, is always take the default gateway when you connect to the other out of the internet world. Then
Exactly.
and when you connect the AWS server, then which IP address will be belongs to us that time? Either default gateway IP or my IP address of laptop.
So it will be my IP address. So suppose, let me check here. So guys, what is the command to check the IP addresses?
Config
IP config, IP
if
config.
config, if config.
Yes, IP config, or you can do so this way also. Okay, it does not give anything. So IP config.
If config.
if config.
So okay, it gives me
That broadcast is some
something different actually. So it gives me IPv4 6. I'm not sure. This is the broadcast IPv4 6, IPv4 6. Okay, so it gives some IPv4 6. I'm not sure. Recently, actually, it changed to IPv4 6. Last class, few days before, it was IPv4. Not sure how it is happening. Okay, so this is actually, one second. I'm getting a call. One second.
Siba, are you hearing Siba?
Yes.
Yeah, Siva. See, the question you asked, that is correct. See, when we connected to internet, our public IP, like will be common for all the application which we are accessing through internet, right? So for me, it is showing when I'm connecting Amazon, any of the instance by connecting, by giving the security inbound rules. If I select my IP, my internet
Hmm.
IP, and that IP should match, but it is not matching. Just because of that, I'm unable to connect to Putty through my IP. So I'm giving internet access, complete access to my SSH, and I'm logging into Putty. I don't know why it is happening. Sometimes back it is means I accessed the last year, that time and all. I do not have this issue. I can easily access. Means when I give my IP, it is showing my internet IP only. But it is
Yes.
this time only I'm facing this issue. That too, that cider is showing 32 /32, which means complete access, right?
Hmm.
I don't know why it is coming like this. Are you guys are facing this issue, or only me facing issue to
No,
connect through my IP?
no, I am not facing any issue.
I'm not facing any issue, but when you understand my question, right? When you click my IP from inbound rules in security,
Hmm.
both your internet IP and your Amazon, that inbound rules IP is matching, right?
No, when you put my IP, automatically it will take your laptop IP. If you see, go to command prompt, okay, put IP config, see the IP address, and when you configure my IP in Amazon Cloud, see what IP it is taking, both will match. Is not it?
No, no. See,
So
your
guys,
if
don't get
whatever the
confused.
command.
One second. Don't get confused. Okay. Don't select my IP. Okay. So you know your IP, right? You know your IP addresses. Select custom. Give your IP address here. That's all. Just give your IP address here and
Yeah,
select the rules. Don't no need to
yes,
change.
Ranjit. I
No need
tried.
to give my IP.
Yes, Ranjit. I tried giving my IP. I tried giving my IP, whatever the IP I'm getting through Google. When I
Okay.
type my IP, whatever the IP I'm getting, the same IP only I'm facing over here by
No,
selecting custom.
no, don't put Google. Just put your IP address by in command prompt. Put IP config. You have a IP fever, IP ID. Take that one and put it there using under custom.
So do
If
I need to give my private IP over there?
yes, my IP means your system IP. Okay, your laptop
No,
IP.
it is how I will give my private IP to
What private?
there.
No,
Your IP, you have to give your whatever IP you are getting, right? It will be your public IP only. So you whatever IP you give, but it's not exactly your private IPs, right? That is the IP you are sharing in the network to be allowing people to connect you. or you are giving allowed to
Oh,
connect others, right? So if you give
okay, okay.
IP config, it will give you a private IP or public IP.
It
Okay,
is your private IP, which is be fixed.
it is. It
Do
will.
I need to give my IPv4 IP over there?
It's fine, bro.
Yes,
Of
yes,
course,
yes.
yeah, you have to give IPv4 or IPv6 or whatever you. So 1 second here. Suppose if you want to see here, are you giving /32 at the end of your IP, right?
Ah, yes, sir. Yes, I'm giving last 30.
32, right? Still, it is not able to connect.
Yeah, yes, Ranjit. I'm not able to connect.
Okay. How it
From Google only, I'm trying to connect through my public IP only. See, whatever the IP address I'm getting by typing
I'm not sure
Google,
how
the same
Google.
address only I'm typing over here. I'm not trying with my private IP.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I understood. I'm not sure how this Google is getting this IP addresses. 1 second.
This is a default gateway network address, I think.
Maybe. Anyway, it will not allow me. You may not specify an
Because anyway, that is
existing address.
this is 16-digit IP configure, means this is address only. One of the IP is configured to this address. It will not take.
Hmm. It's not allowing me. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll see. You just try to do that, or else whatever it's giving my IP, just select my IP and just give it. Okay, if you know your IP addresses, you know how to give the firewall access, right? Simply just inbound rules, and if you suppose got anybody else IP address and you want to allow access to that, simply go here and add rules. Give the IP address /32 here, and it's done. You can that person can able to access your that particular persons can able to access you. Okay, so here what happens, we can only allow accesses but we cannot block accesses for particular IP. For particular IP, if you want to block it, you cannot block it. That we'll see in different network classes how we can block particular IP addresses. Okay, so
Yeah, Ranjit, please help me on this, Ranjit. This question, what I asked is, my public IP, I'm unable to visible in AWS security inbound rules when I click my IP. So
select
just keep this in mind. I just, if you find any solution for this, you just let me know because I'm unable to connect putty through my IP.
come on man, just give my IP here and you will be able to connect, right? I think you will be able to connect. Just
Um,
see,
actually, my
just add my IP here instead of giving custom IP, and you know that custom IP is not working, right? Select my IP now. Do the work currently. So actually, the custom IP
yeah, yeah.
address, that means you are not
See,
getting your.
yeah, Ranjit, I tried with both the thing. Okay, when I give my IP, it is visible some IP address, and I try to connect SSH. It is not. I'm unable to connect. Then I tried using custom by giving whatever the IP address I'm getting through Google, and I save it, and I try to launch SSH. Putty, it is not working. Um, Unfortunately, I'm connecting through 0.0.0 only. So that anywhere option only I'm choosing, and I'm running.
You are not
So
able to connect
I tried,
from your laptop.
yeah, I tried using last year. That time and all, I don't face this issue and all. But this time only, I'm this recently when I logged in, I'm facing this issue from last week only.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay.
From
Then
last week, in the sense, in this year, I started recalling myself by last week only. So that's why.
okay, we'll see that one. Okay, we'll see how it can be fixed. But so far, whenever you're giving my IP here, it is working or not? Tell me first.
It is not working, Ranjit. It is not working. So I just configured that keeper. very well only. I didn't make any mistake with my by generating from Puttigen generating the key pair, but
Okay, do
still I'm unable to connect it.
one thing. Maybe offline you can share with your screen with me, and we'll see. Okay, and or else you can share your screen now itself. People also will see. Just share your screen. Let me make presenter.
Okay, let me connect it. 1 minute.
1 second. Let me make
Mhm.
Madi. Okay, make presenter.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah, I made.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute, Ranjit. I need to log in through a laptop. 1 minute, 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
You have not logged into a laptop. How you are doing in your mobile or what?
I'm just listening everything through mobile.
Okay.
Uh, 1 minute. Give me a minute.
Ranjit, small doubt.
Yeah, I just connected, Ranjit. I just connected. How about my show, like, share my screen, Ranjit? Ranjit?
Screen button is there, na? It will be enabled for you.
No,
Make
it is not
camera.
enabled. That is why. Yeah, it is not enabled. So that is why I'm asking. Organizer needs to give permission to me.
No, 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 no. I have made you already the presenter, right? You should have the present. Already you are a presenter. Madhu,
Uh,
already you are a
yeah,
presenter.
from my side, I can see. From my side, I can see. When I click that screen icon to
Uh-huh.
share your screen, ask the organizer to make you presenter. I'm getting this error, like.
Oh, 1 second. Uh, Acha, I can see here. Yeah, I can see two Madhis here in my screen. Okay, let me give you another
Yes,
one.
yes, yes.
Okay,
Another one. Yeah, I connected through mobile and this one, right?
okay,
So
okay. I made both
yeah.
present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, this is my IP 103.26.196. Launching instance.
Yeah, it's okay. Now we can just go to. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It will be running. We'll get the public IP now.
Just chosen my Madi instance on the same keypad. I try to connect. So it is not connecting, right? I'm going to security.
Are you generated through keygen, putty keygen, the
Yes,
.50k file?
yes, yes. Yes. I generated through putty keygen only. This is the SSH. Let it be. This is SSH. I'm going to action. Edit inbound rules. Instead of giving custom.
So select my IP. Select my IP.
Yeah, my IP selected.
Save rules. Save rules.
Triple on 196. How it is coming? Triple on 196. It is not refreshing, I believe.
It's not
Put
refreshing.
your IP config in command. See what is the value.
One minute. See, now it is showing correctly. I don't know. Previously it was not matching. 103, 103, 26, triple on 195. 103, 26, triple on 195. It's supposed to come. See, 103, 26, triple on 195. It is showing now. 195 only showing. 195. Here it is showing different one when I choose this one. 196.
That's fine. That's fine. Save rules.
I'm saving the rules. And it's supposed to come now itself, right? So it is not coming when I restart it.
Okay, 13.235.104. 198 is the IP address. Can you check it again?
Yeah, 198.
It's the public IP.
1 minute. 104, 198. The same only. 104, 198. Network error only it is throwing. So if I copy this my IP, whatever is below over here, now it is connected. Triple on 196, right? Triple on 196. It's supposed to connect now.
Instead of 95, just give 96. Yeah.
Yeah. That is what. Now it is changed. Restart session.
I don't understand what is happening. Your IP address keep changing.
Yeah, it is keep changing, right? So dynamically, do I need to contact my network provider? Why it is changing my public IP frequently like that?
I'm not sure. Okay, so
Which network you took, Marty?
It's Airtel only. So don't go for Airtel. Whoever is having.
You should ask for static gateway, then they will provide you.
Actually, each and every network providers keep on changing their protocols, right? So their routing table will get changed every 1 day or every week, something like that. When I was in Chennai, the route.
Actually, you should ask for the gaming IP address. You should tell that one. Gaming IP address will be always in one IP address that will be provided to your main router.
Yeah, that I know. Yeah, Siba only talking, right? Siba, like if you are getting any static IP, you have to pay for it. Siba, it is not free. My father is working in BSNL, was working in BSNL. So I know, like, how the static IP, dynamic IPs are working. So when you get a public IP as a static one, you have to pay for it. For BSNL, it is cost around 3600 or something like that per month, per year. Sorry, per year. So static IP and all, the network provider will charge extra.
Go to Act.
So far,
Go to Act. They won't take that much charges.
Yeah,
What you can do,
I
Madi?
don't know, Ranjit.
Madi,
Yes, Ranjit.
don't take too much stress. You understood what to
Okay.
do, right? You understood if you give particular IP, you can allow access. Now you are clear on that. For the time, if you want to do
Yeah.
practice, just give anywhere and do practice. Don't keep stress on this on
Okay.
time. If you want to fix
Okay.
problem with the IP address, just go ahead and fix the IP problem, or else you can just give public and work it because nobody can access to your server until unless they find your certificate, right?
See, yeah, yes, Ranjit, I have doubt what is right in the sense that what is in that, like, whether you are connecting your, like, Google, whatever the IP address is showing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever the my IP is showing in your inbound rules are same or not. That is my question, Ranjit.
No, it is actually
From your end, yeah,
for
yeah,
me. Actually, you can see right for my end, it is giving IPv4 6 on my Google,
okay,
IPv4 in my IP, right?
okay.
Is totally different. Okay, guys, I'm getting late, so I have to join another class already 10 o'clock. So the
See,
people.
when it's selected anywhere, it is automatically connected. I don't know. Okay, Ranjit. Okay, Ranjit.
Like
Just like, if you have it.
if it a problem, there is problem with your IP addresses, we just need to check because you saw my IP, right? I saw when I did connectivity, right? It was working fine with me.
Yes, yes,
So try to
yes,
do
yes,
that,
yes.
Summer, and you understood the basics how you can do connectivity and log the IP addresses, right? For the time being, you do the
Okay.
practice. Guys, whatever I told you, just do the task, and the next class we'll see, and I'll show you the same thing, what the task I have given you, right? The same thing I
So
have.
Ranjit,
Yes, yes, Ranjit.
Okay. Okay, guys. See you. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Ranjit. Bye, bye.